Look, and firstly, going to deal with the issue of the Seanad recall itself, and I welcome the Minister here, congratulate him on his appointment. But just to say that for those who question the recall and the effectiveness of the recall, at least one house of the Oireachtas is discussing this. And I would again call on the Taoiseach to instruct the Ceann Comhairle to recall the Dáil. I thank the Cathaoirleach here, who under the standing orders of this House is actually able to recall the Seanad. But at least the Seanad is discussing this, and the Dáil should do likewise. Now, none of us are under any illusion as to the influence or power that this chamber has. But as Senator Norris and others said earlier on, for us to remain silent on this issue would further the disgrace that the EU has brought against itself. I put to you, Minister, that you mentioned in your opening statement that you dealt with certain aspects of this by way of Dáil questions on the 16th of June. 16th of June, 6 weeks ago. Last time this was discussed in the Irish Parliament. Now, on the 23rd of July 2014, this resolution, proposed by the Human Rights Council and adopted by the Human Rights Council, since then, and it states in it that 350 Palestinians were killed at that stage, and two Israeli civilians, that is. Now, that has doubled since then, and it's doubled the numbers of children and women and innocent people who've been killed both in Palestine and in Israel. And I actually have to say, from my own view and the official view of my own... Yeah, sorry, this is when it's printed. 16th of July.
That's corrected, yeah.
Oh, in relation to your Dáil questions.
No. In relation to the questions, please.
Sorry,
Please be fair and reasonable about it. 16th of July.
I would absolutely. Well, I take your point. I'd written down the 16th of June because that's what you said in your opening statement.
That's correct. 16th
okay,
of July.
Well, sorry if I'm getting to you, Minister, but I will actually, in fairness, if the 16th of July, it's the 16th of July. Okay, but that still does not change. Does not change one jot that the Dáil should be recalled for this to be debated. And the only person who can do that is the Taoiseach. Now, to deal with your abstention and the government's abstention on the vote, I don't just blame the government on that, or you as Minister. The EU's response to this crisis has been tepid, has been pathetic, and has been weak. And there's no question about that. Because the vast bulk of people that you represent, and the vast bulk of the Europeans, absolutely roundly condemn what has been happening in Gaza and in the West Bank, and all of us condemn, and I want to just put this on the record, because I'm a supporter of a two-state solution. I support Israel's right to exist and defend itself, but I support a two-state solution where the Palestinians are left with a state, where they're left with something that they can actually build a nation-state on. And what's happening now, and what's been happening since the siege of Gaza came to pass, is that the people in Gaza, as Senator Cullinan said earlier on, live in the largest open prison in this world. And you will never get peace, and we know that in our own country. And I would plead with the Israeli government to say that in our own country, we had to deal with what were termed at the time and what were terrorist organisations. But the British government had to sit down with them. The Irish government had to sit down with them, and they had to talk to them. Because trying to impose a peaceful solution when you don't even respect the dignity of the people in the Gaza Strip itself and in the West Bank, and you continue with illegal developments and illegal settlements of people on Palestinian land, it's just simply not going to work. Now, the purpose of this, many of my colleagues have actually dealt with what has happened over the last few weeks and what continues to happen, and the targeting of 6 UN schools and the murders of the innocent. Okay? And I regret terribly the killing of many young Israeli soldiers who were in there, who were sent in there, and the mobilisation of 86,000 additional troops mobilised this week in the reserve forces. Now, what are Israel trying to do and trying to achieve here? They are not, in any way, shape or form, protecting their state. The Israeli Defence Forces are not acting as a defence force. They're an attack force in this regard. And what we need to do at this stage is to look seriously, and in your opening statement you dealt with the situation in Ukraine, and unfortunately with 5 minutes that each of us have here, it's not enough to deal with it. Look at the difference between the sanctions taken against Russia and the inaction against Israel for what they're doing. The absolute inaction, and you have cleared that, you've made that very clear in your own opening statement. Your own opening statement. Now, the Irish people understand, and we understand through our ancestors and through our relatives and our grandfathers and great-grandfathers and grandmothers what it was like to be an oppressed people. And that's why I put it that the Irish people have a specific affinity, and I will make no apology for it, with the Palestinian people. Because we understand through our own history what it's like to be oppressed by a big neighbour, by a bully, effectively supported by the rest of the world. So what I'm asking here at this stage is, and my final question is, are you working as Minister for Foreign Affairs to bring about a revised resolution, revised UN human rights resolution, whilst that one was passed? And are the government, and will the government hold in reserve the potential of actually bringing about sanctions on Israel, and particularly goods that are produced in illegal Israeli settlements? Now, all of us at this stage, and I'll conclude here, all of us in this House condemn all deaths and all atrocities. But let's be clear about this, and is that what has happened in Gaza is tantamount to collective punishment of the citizens of Gaza, of innocent people. War crimes have been perpetrated, and people's human rights have been grossly, grossly violated. And our government needs to stand up, and if the rest of Europe won't, like they didn't with Srebrenica, when the EU stood by and watched this happen for months and months and months. Okay, we're at this since the 8th of July, and we're standing by as well. And I would ask you to redouble your efforts in that regard, Minister.